what we heard on the tape disqualifies them for service on the Los Angeles City Council. They have forfeited their leadership in much the way I talked about Tracy Park years ago, forfeiting her leadership. Their place in our city and their place in our society is any place other than the Los Angeles City Council as a voting member.
Nuri Martinez had the opportunity to resign from the city council. She chose at this point just to resign as president. Is that enough?
No. It is not enough. We can't have a city council where every day we go in, there's someone sitting there that called the black child a monkey. It's not tenable. It's inconsistent with the city of Los Angeles. It's not who we want to be. I don't even think it's who she wants us to be. And so I think these things take a while. This conversation was a year ago. They had no idea they were being taped. So I'm trying to give them space to come to the space where they do the right thing. But their service on the city council is untenable.
How does the city heal from something like this? Because there's just been so many scandals on the city council, and this may be one of the biggest ones that results in 3 people resigning.
Well, it will result in 3 people resigning. It's not going to result in anybody being incarcerated, because unfortunately in the U.S., racism is not something you go to jail for. But I think the first thing that happens is folks need to do real apologies. They need to make amends, and they need to create the space for people to heal. I don't think we can heal if their votes are votes that have to be counted on things that impact racial justice. The voters should replace Nuri Martinez. I always I'm always in favor of the people deciding. The people were way out ahead of us when they figured out that it wasn't a good idea to send Gil Cedillo back. Turns out they knew more than many of us who endorsed him, like me. And I think the voters should decide in the 6th district and in the 14th district as well.
Some people.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, I think that's ridiculous. I have not heard that even as a rumor or as a question. I think this recording has to do with. An employee-employer conflict.
A lot of people will criticize politicians for being two-faced. People before this moment might have thought that those on the reporting, that their priorities were supportive of people of color and their causes. What does this tell you about them and politicians in general? I mean, people are going to lose faith in...
Well, what I tell the public is what my grandmother always told me. Listen to what people say, but more importantly, watch what they do. And I think if you watch the track record of these 3 individuals, when issues of racial justice come up, they've already told us who they were. I think the tape gives us, in a literal form and articulated in a clear way that's impossible to deny.
Were you surprised by what you heard?
I was surprised. I knew that sentiment was there. I did not realize it was so intense and so vicious.
Have you spoke with Councilmember Bonin?
I have spoken with Councilmember Bonin.
Anything you want to share about that, how him and his family are doing?
I talked to Councilmember Bonin. You're talking to a dad whose kid's been kicked in the gut. And you sign up to raise and protect a child, and because of your job, your child's been injured. And these folks have put things into the ether that child's going to have to live with for the rest of his life. And so that's really all Mike and I have been able to talk about.
And what is the path forward for the council?
Well, the path forward is I think these 3 folks have got to remove themselves. I think there's got to be a healing process both inside the council and outside. Fortunately, we're getting a number of new members, so we'll get to a little bit of a fresh start in December. And we got to set out some guidelines. We got to set up guardrails so this type of sentiment can't ever take power. Because it isn't just that these folks are members of the council. You have the leader of the council, the person in charge of the homelessness committee, who is so hostile to black people. 40% of the homeless people are black. And then the person chairing the housing committee. So I think we got to make sure folks who either act on or speak with these sentiments can't take power in our city in the future.
for a special election for if Kevin DeLeon resigns his seat and also Murray?
Yes, I mean, look, one of the things that these people did in that room is they sullied the appointment process. And folks remember, Nuri Martinez took the opportunity to basically say I was against a black woman because I questioned her appointment of Heather Hutt. The reason I did that at the time is because what's on that tape was in the rumor mill, and it was actually compromising Heather Hutt more than anybody. So I think they've so damaged the appointment process that I don't think anybody can touch it anymore. I certainly wouldn't want to be an appointee of the city council given what they've just done.
And Assemblymember